My name is Nancy Knorr. I'm the chairperson of Jobs for Minnesotans, an organization representing our building trades, our business and our community leaders in support of responsible industry. Our roots as an organization and a coalition came about, and in our opportunity was to give the silent majority a voice in support of copper nickel mining. And today we are here indeed to project that voice, project it loud and proud. And as I shared with some of my colleagues, our mantra today perhaps is go big and stay home instead of, be bold and be bold and head home. So we're going to stay home this time. I'm surrounded by colleagues that are going to say that in words that and in their voices that want to be heard today. And it's my pleasure to help facilitate this press event. We're going to start with one of our state elected officials, and I'm going to turn the microphone and podium over to Representative Jason Metza. Jason?
You're here.
Well, thank you all for coming, and on behalf of everyone behind me, and I believe a majority of the community, we are tired of the bullshit. To be frank, we've been dealing with running around to hearings all over the state. The one in the 17th down the metro area is something which Mrs. Knorr just said, we're staying home. We've got one on the 25th here in Virginia, and I'd encourage all the local community members from throughout the range to come to that and show strong support, but we're tired of traveling for projects in our region where we've met the standards up here for year after year after year. We have trout that we can catch in our reclaimed mine pits right here. Our water source in Virginia is a reclaimed mine pit. And, again, we're tired of the bullshit. We want to get back to just having a normal sense and semblance of getting a permit and a project underway. And that's our message to the state as we're boycotting this next event. And I'll turn it over to Nancy to get our next speaker up.
Great. Thank you, Jason. So we're here for fair process, as Representative Metza indicated, and next in line to visit with us today is Representative Rob Eklund. Rob?
Thanks, Nancy. And first off, it's great to see the building trades here, the young men and women involved in building trades. That's what we need. We got kids here. I'd love to see the kids at this with their "We Support Mining" stickers on the things, on their shirts. And I'm deeply troubled by the moves that the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management have made on this issue. These moves were against the people I represent. I represent where this project is. And I represent one of the poorer districts in the state. This project will be critical to getting our state moving forward. We've been mining for over 100 years, and we have the cleanest water in northern Minnesota. Proposing to withdraw thousands of acres of land from mineral exploration undercuts the comprehensive state and federal guidelines that are already in place to make these things happen. It's going against what's established. This proposal not only hurts people I represent, but it will hurt our school kids. We stand to lose out on $3 billion of school trust fund, potential $3 billion of school trust fund money that could happen from this project. And extending the comment period and adding a public hearing in St. Paul, where most of the public waters down there are already impaired. I don't know about you. I was around Lake Calhoun this spring. It was real nice. About 3 months later, it was green. I wouldn't swim in that. And I'll gladly swim in any water that we have here in northern Minnesota, like I said, where we've been mining for over 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. So, thank you. Co-sponsor of this press event, a partner in crime as we've traveled through the halls of Congress in D.C., Steve Georgie, Executive Director of the Range Municipalities and Schools. Steve?
Thank you, Nancy. As the Executive Director for RAMS, the Range Association of Municipalities and Schools, it's been my pleasure to represent communities across the taconite assistance area of northeastern Minnesota. 1,300 square miles of communities, townships, and 15 public school districts are all part of that area. And again, this is the epicenter of mining excellence in the entire country. Nobody does it better, nobody does it cleaner, nobody does it safer than the mining that's been done on the Iron Range on one end of the taconite assistance area to another. For the U.S. Forest Service and the BLM to change the process in midstream, to pull permits, stop the scientific environmental review that is laid out in federal legislature is unnecessary, unacceptable, and we're simply tired of it. Why are they having a hearing in Ramsey County about a project in northeastern Minnesota? Did they invite us to have a hearing in Virginia when they want to do the Ford reclamation project in St. Paul? I don't think so. I don't recall that. It makes no sense, and we're tired of it. This mining project would have a significant impact to the education of our future generations, as Representative Eklund stated. Why is it that they never talk about the Flambeau copper nickel mine in Wisconsin? All they do is pretend to bring up stories about horrendous histories of copper nickel mining. But let's talk about the successes. The Flambeau mine in Wisconsin, the reclamation there is phenomenal. The trout fishing, there's no problems at all. We've also got the Eagle mine in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Since 2014, it's been in operation. It's an underground mine. It's got no histories of environmental problems, and it's projected in 14 years of mining to bring $4.3 billion to the economy of Michigan. What's wrong with that for Minnesota? We could have that here. Let the review process work. That's what it's set up for. So we're done. We're not going to St. Paul. We're not going to charter buses. We're waiting for them to come to the St. Louis County area where this project is going to happen, and we'll be there to get our voices across and to be heard. Virginia, July 25th, we're going to be there just like we are today. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are talking about a federal land withdrawal, and that land surrounds a community born out of mining, Babbitt, Minnesota. It's my pleasure to introduce its mayor, Andrea Zupancic.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. I have the great honor to represent the hardworking people of the small town called Babbitt. The proposed mineral withdrawal of 235 acres of land in northeastern Minnesota would be the death sentence for our community. I love my community. My community is one built on mining dating all the way back to the prospector Peter Mitchell, who discovered taconite ore in the area. We just had our Peter Mitchell days, and it was phenomenal. We heard from people coming back, heard from people that were there. Keep up the fight, they kept saying. They don't want to see this happen. We love the area we live in. We love the outdoors, but we need something to survive on. Mining offers us that future. We aren't fighting for a few jobs here. We're fighting for thousands of jobs and families. We are only willing to have a future if that project meets or exceeds the strict environmental standards that are already in place. This isn't about us wanting to destroy our pristine wilderness. This is about us wanting both: the ability to make a living that creates a better future for our kids and families, and continue to enjoy the natural beauty that surrounds us. My community will not be attending the farce of a public hearing in St. Paul, but we most certainly will be present in force in Virginia on July 25th.
That was very powerful. Our other partner in Jobs for Minnesotans, the building trades, we are represented and fortunate to have today Craig Olson, who is the president of the Duluth Building Trades and also serves on the board of the State Building Trades and Construction Council. Craig, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. As Nancy stated, I am Craig Olson. I'm president, today I'm speaking for the Minnesota State Building Trades. I'm secretary treasurer. I have the honor of representing 55,000 men and women of the trades. Many of them are here today. I want to thank them for coming out. It's very important to the trades, these jobs. Northeastern Minnesota has the potential to be a global powerhouse for responsible strategic metals mining. This region has the largest known undeveloped deposit of strategic metals in the world. This is a tremendous opportunity, but the withdrawal proposal risks the future of jobs for my members and my members that depend on to put food on the table and feed their families, provide educational opportunities for their kids, and build good careers. This withdrawal would represent a loss of $1.5 billion in annual wages and more than $2.5 billion in annual economic production based on studies conducted by the University of Minnesota Duluth. Frankly, the continued delay from the U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. Bureau of Land Management is insulting to us skilled trades who work hard to ensure our projects and our workforce meet environmental standards and regulations. We have generations of experience with mining safely and responsibly right here in northeastern Minnesota. All we ask is for a fair shake, a fair process, which we aren't getting. And I'm happy to say I'm going to stand with my brothers and sisters in the building trades, and we'll be boycotting the St. Paul July 18th event. Thank you.
So we've heard from communities, we've heard from labor, and now we want to hear the voice of business. And it's my pleasure to welcome another co-sponsor of this press event, the Laurentian Chamber of Commerce. Marcy Knight serves as a board member of the Chamber, as well as the Chief Marketing Officer for American Bank of the North. Marcy?
Thank you, Nancy. Today I'd like to speak about what mining provides for our community. We all know that when people are working, money flows into our communities. As a Chamber board member, I know the economic impact of mining every time a customer goes into one of our members' business, whether it's to eat at a local restaurant, to spend money locally, to stay at one of our resorts, or even to go into a local financial institution to get a loan for a new home, or to get a loan to open up a new business in our community, or to even, if it's an existing customer, to look to open up a new business or to expand their business. Our Chamber members know and understand their customers, and they build relationships, so we work together. We know that good mining jobs create a healthy local economy, where people are spending and shopping locally, they're sending their children to college, and they're investing and reinvesting in our communities. With mining, we all prosper, and our communities see the long-term benefits. Without mining, we have empty storefronts on Main Street, and we have a shrinking population. So you see, mining is the backbone of our economy, and we need to preserve this cornerstone for our future generations. And unfortunately, the proposed mineral withdrawal means that the future of Minnesota mining is at jeopardy. And today, this Chamber board member, who is also works for a local business that is owned locally and is invested in the community, is here today to let you know that the proposed mineral withdrawal, to say that the proposed mineral withdrawal will be detrimental to our communities is an understatement. It is time to bring back the fair environmental review process today. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're moving through our lineup quickly, so hopefully some of the media would like to get some one-on-ones with some of our speakers after the conference. But I'm joined now by a friendly face, a face of mining that purportedly our opponents of mining don't object to, and that's the taconite industry. However, I think we all know that those who have put pressure on the agencies to conduct this withdrawal are probably putting their targets on the iron mining industry next. So with us today, and I'm so pleased to invite him to the podium, John Arbogast, the Vice President of the United Steelworkers. John.
Hello, my name is John Arbogast. I'm the Vice President of Local 1938, and I wake up pissed off every day. For over 40 years, U.S. Steel and the United Steelworkers have been making quality pellets without any major environmental issues. In the last 10 years, Mintac alone has spent over $100 million on environmental-related issues. Yet anti-mining groups are trying to kill all mining jobs on the Iron Range, not just copper nickel. And all these jobs support everyone in this region. We cannot continue to kick this can down the alley. It's time for all Iron Rangers to stand up and fight back. For 120 years, labor has had to fight for everything we got. No one gave us a damn thing. And now we're in another fight with some very organized and well-funded ultra-conservationists that want to stop all mining, not just copper nickel. We don't go down to Minneapolis, St. Paul, St. Cloud, Brainerd, and tell them how to live their lives. So what gives them the right to tell us, Iron Rangers, how to live our lives? Do you really think we would allow United States Steel, Cleveland Cliffs, or ArcelorMittal to pollute the hunting and fishing opportunities that we enjoy every day, not just one weekend of summer?
Heck no.
In closing, our forefathers some of them had to die to fight for this middle class way of life we all enjoy on the Iron Range. It's time to stand up. It's time to fight back. If we don't get in this fight, we're doomed to lose. And if it's not going to be us, the labor leaders behind me and in the community, who is going to fight this fight? Thank you.
So as you can see, I'm a very privileged person to work with people of the caliber of those who have been visiting with us today, as well as everyone standing behind me. Our cleanup hitter today needs no introduction, Commissioner Tommy Rukavina.
The closer.
And you're not the shortest.
Yeah, exactly. Not the shortest either. Well, you know, first of all, thank you for the building trades and the steel workers and all the elected officials that showed up today. And you can hear the message, and the message is we're just tired of the attack on our way of life, and we're tired of the charade of running around the state to get input from everybody and everything. You know, I went to the PolyMet hearings in first Duluth, and then in Aurora, and then in St. Paul. And I can tell you this, because I was at all three of them, rode the buses. At best, there was maybe 35% opposition in St. Paul and Duluth. As deep pockets that the environmental community has, 65% of those crowds in Duluth and St. Paul were in favor of copper nickel mining, and 90% in Aurora. And then we had Twin Metals in Duluth, the insult. They're going to have the hearing in Duluth. And the reason they said they were having it in Duluth is so the people from St. Paul didn't have to drive so far and come up here. So now, why we're having another hearing in St. Paul, it's ridiculous. We're done with this charade. We're not going anymore. These guys over here now that are lucky enough to be working the building trades are probably working because of the seasonal work, maybe double shifts. These steel workers are now working 12-hour shifts, some of them driving trucks and equipment bigger than a lake home on Lake Minnetonka in the cities, and you want them to jump in a car, drive 4 hours one way and 4 hours back to testify for jobs that any common sense person would say, let's get these jobs in Minnesota. So I get to wrap up now. I get a little more time. So, you know, I just went to Boston for a family event. And when that plane was taking off in Minneapolis and going down in Boston and vice versa, coming up in Boston, taking off and landing in Minneapolis, I realized one thing. There's a copper nickel mine on every city block in those big cities. You know, the stuff they need for modern day society is there. And when you land in the airport, see 1,000 planes, think how much copper, nickel, and zinc and everything else is in those planes to make them run and operate. And so, you know, I'm happy to see the steelworkers here today because, as Arvo said, you're under attack too. For these environmental groups, and many of them have said it, to say that they're not after taconite mining, then why did they sue over Mintac's East Pit expansion? Why did they sue over Esther Steel even getting started years ago? Why did they sue, I think, federally over North Shore mining? I'm not quite sure about that one. And I know Mesaba Nugget, they brought us to court on that one too. So I'm glad to see the steelworkers here. But I want to say something to the press because people don't think about this. In 1964, the state of Minnesota offered up a taconite amendment to jumpstart taconite mining because we ran out of natural ore during World War II because we won the war. Japan and Germany could not keep up to us when the iron ore was coming off the Mesaba Range, and 4 weeks later, it was already in a tank or a ship. If it wasn't for the range, we'd be speaking Japanese or German today. So, you know, in 1964, there were only 3.4 million people. Stay alert, press. 3.4 million people in the state of Minnesota. 1.5 million people voted in that taconite amendment, voted for it. And considering that those of us that are baby boomers, probably half the population of the state of Minnesota was under 21 at the time. So the turnout must have been huge, in the 80 or 90% turnout. And guess what the vote was? 1,270,000 people voted yes for taconite. 240,000 people voted no. 86% of the people in this state said, let's give them a chance. But you know what we've all forgotten over the last 50 years? You know what else was on that budget, on that ballot? Copper nickel mining. Copper nickel mining, breaks for copper nickel. And 86% of the people in 1964 said, let's give copper nickel mining and taconite mining a break. And I'm going to quote from the Minneapolis Associated Press in an article the next day. They printed, more than 1 million Minnesotans in an overwhelming vote voted for the taconite amendment aimed at pumping new economic life into our state iron range. We were one state then. So I think given the facts today, without what some of the folks in the environmental community are doing, it's twisting the facts, that if the state of Minnesota was honestly presented with what we're going to do with copper nickel mining, how we're going to be doing it more cleanly than anywhere else in the world, I think we'd have that 85 or 86 support again. So we're done with the charade. We're not going down to St. Paul. I'm saying to all the people of the state, come up to Virginia. Come up to our hearing. Look us in the eye and tell us what we do for a living is no good. That what we've done for 135 years without harming the environment. We've got the cleanest water, the cleanest air, and I think the only wilderness area in the state of Minnesota. So I've been told to end with this, and I'd like to thank the mayor of Babbitt, because for those of you that went to St. Paul, remember we passed out these bags? Remember that? When I got up and talked and I passed out the bags on the bus and I said, you know, this is from the grocery store in Aurora, close to where this mine is going to be. And for those of you people that don't believe in copper nickel mining, we're passing bags around. Throw your car keys, your cell phones, your iPads, your iPhones in the bag, because they're all full of copper and nickel. Well, I'm here today, sadly, to say that Andrea had to bring this bag from Babbitt because the Zup store in Aurora had to close. You're not only starving us in closing, you're not only starving us, you know, literally, or figuratively speaking, you're starving the people of the Iron Range, actually, literally speaking. Give us a chance. We've done this right for 135 years. We know what we're doing up here. Don't go to that, folks. Come to Virginia on the 25th and come from all over the state to support us like you did back in 1964. Thank you.
So last I checked, it's Congress that passes laws. Congress passed a law that preserved a major national treasure in the Boundary Waters. They also passed a law that provided a buffer area where mining is not allowed. This withdrawal affects a swath of our region that is actually desirable mining area and possesses one of the richest mineral resources we have in the nation, if not the world. So we ask all of you to stand up with us, as Tommy said, on July 25th in Virginia. And with that, we'll take a wrap and see if the press has any questions for any of our presenters here today, or speakers, or anyone, frankly, probably standing behind the podium. Thank you.